down on your mat. We're going to draw the knees together, the big toes together, and then gently peel forwards. The belly rests over the thighs, the arms reach out in front, and we rest the forehead down to the ground. Begin to relax down through the body. Allow the muscles to switch off. The forehead fully rests into the ground. The shoulders melt. As we relax down here, you'll notice a gentle compression through the front of the hips, a gentle stretch through the back. The armpits and heart space fall heavier towards the ground. Gently draw your right arm back around and your left arm back and down, allowing that furthering of the scooping of the shoulders forwards, the relaxation of the shoulders down to the ground, which emphasizes that stretch through the upper back. Inhale here. And when you're ready, we draw both hands into a little fist and we stack them underneath our forehead. We lift the feet into a little toe tuck position. We rest the forehead down. We rest the toes under the heels and the hips on top of the heels. Once again, we relax down. It's normal for your mind to begin to wander here. Allow yourself to send acceptance towards whatever you witness. If you notice the mind wandering a lot, we just observe. Send acceptance towards that. If we notice sensations of compression and deep stretching, we observe and allow. We always treat our mind with compassion in the way we're observing from a place of non-judgment, but also non-attachment. We observe as if we're an outsider, non-attached from the brain and its thoughts, non-attached from the physical body or the emotional body. These are all just things that we're experiencing in the present. And we are the one watching, the consciousness or the awareness that carries on when the body doesn't. Within Yin, just take what resonates and leave what doesn't. When you're feeling ready, you draw the arms out in front. We come up into a tabletop and we lift your hips up and back into a downwards dog. It can be tempting here to begin to pedal, so instead just allow yourself to be still. That same stillness that we cultivate in our Yin poses, we'd like to bring into our counter poses too. We observe the sensations that we feel running through the legs. We allow that softening of the muscles, particularly through the legs, where they can just rest into this pose. The heels don't have to touch the floor, but the backs of the legs are relaxed down. When you're ready, we take the right leg through into a dragon. So this means that your left leg has its knife edge, which is the little toe down to the outer heel on the outer corner of the mat. We then drop the right leg in line with the right hip. The left hand is framed by the left foot and the right hand. If this is already feeling a bit too much, you can take this same movement but on the back for a half happy baby, which will look like this instead. So we are in our dragon. We have a few options of how to make the dragon our own. You could drop down that back knee. You might take the left hand and place it on the inner left thigh, coming into a gentle twist. You might drop both forearms down to the ground for low flying dragon, or you might combo low flying and twisted dragon, like so. So there are many different options to make it your own. We would like to ensure that we are meeting our edge and then committing to stillness. So you don't need to commit to stillness in a pose that feels past your edge. We don't want it to feel painful, and we also don't want it to feel so gentle that the mind can just drift away. We want the sensations to always be that perfect in-between point between not feeling it enough and feeling it far too much. This allows us to play with that line of unfamiliar and familiar sensations. It allows the sensations to ebb and flow between comfortable and mildly uncomfortable, just due to the intensity of stretch, reaching the new depths as your muscles relax down. We begin working with the range of motion of the body as opposed to the flexibility of the body. Although we do target the muscles' flexibility as a secondary factor. When we allow ourselves to begin to target what we call the yin tissues of the body, which is the ligaments, the tendons, the joints, the bones, these deep, deep areas, it's thought that we strengthen them and lengthen them in a way that they enjoy to be moved. Meaning in day-to-day life, when we are doing more yang-like movements, often that stretch response switches on where the muscles are engaged and active, protecting these deep yin tissues. However, they do need an element of use. If they're completely protected all the time, then they can become underused and degenerate. So the idea is to increase the lubrication in these areas, to strengthen these areas and bring a little bit of stretch and length into these areas by moving them in a way that they enjoy to be moved. Moving yin tissues in a yin-like way, long still holds. Areas that are thought to be very yin are areas such as the feet, which we targeted at the beginning, and areas such as the wrists, the hands, the fingers. There are also thought to be meridians running through these deep tissues of the body. Meridians relate to internal organs and emotions, each with a different function and each relating to a different emotion. but all when in perfect flowing harmony and in balance, simply fall under that umbrella of unconditional love. For example, here we're targeting the stomach meridian, which relates to contentment, the gallbladder and kidney meridian, which relate to feelings of forgiveness and release and letting go. Well done, we're going to move on to the other side by sliding that leg back and taking a moment in a counter position where we lay on our front, we draw the hands onto the forearms and we rest. So as we target these meridians, it's thought that we're helping that flow of prana or life force that flows through these areas. When we have a blockage or stagnancy, which is usually formed by tension in the physical body, which originates as tension in the mind, the emotional body, the energy body, any kind of blockage here, is thought to cease that natural flow, leading to excess or lack of certain emotions. And it can also interfere with the internal organs functioning that they relate to. So what we're doing in Yin, rather than trying to control the uncontrollable, we're not trying to control the brain and how it functions, what thoughts we experience. We're not trying to tell the energy body what to do and expecting it to listen. We're just releasing tension from the physical body to allow that flow, that healthy functioning of prana to flow through us and to us. We're also allowing stillness in the physical body, and due to how related and interconnected every single part of us is, just in the same way that we have a tension or a tense thought, and it can create tension in the jaw and the shoulders, in the neck, which is thought to create these blockages in the energy body. We're just reverse engineering that, so we're releasing the physical body to release and relax the mind. We're slowing the breath to tell the nervous system that we're safe and we're calm. When you're ready, we're going on to the other side. It's up to you how you make your way there. You could do it from tabletop if you prefer, or you can come to downwards dog. Use your hand if you need. In Yin, it's not so much about the transitions, it's about how we feel in the pose and then committing to stillness. So your right knife edge of the foot, so from your little toe down to the outer heel, is aligned with the outer mat. Your right hand is framed by the right foot and left arm. It's up to you how you take your pose. We first find our edge. You could be upright, you could be down on your forearms, you could be in twisted dragon with that forearm down, or with that forearm, or with that palm down. So take it at your own pace, and you absolutely can move if we need. So we not only move if we experience any pain, we never want that sort of pinching sensation. We're trying to treat our body with as much compassion as we can. So if at any point you notice sensations that don't feel right for you, give yourself that respect, that compassion, honour your body and move out of the pose slowly, making sure you're being mindful of what your body needs. And at the same time, if the pose is feeling too gentle, we want to give ourselves the opportunity to find stillness through present moment sensation. Not just physically,
but also in the way our entire awareness can settle on the sensations you feel. Because if it feels way too easy, the mind will wander to the past or the future or the hypothetical. Whereas when we allow ourselves to challenge ourselves, that discipline of sitting and breathing through sensations that feel intense but not too much, that's when we are in that yin-like state. We relax physically, specifically through the target area. So here, for example, the arms are active, the arms are yang, because they are holding us up, whether we are engaging just a little bit on the forearms or quite a lot up on the palms. And we also allow ourselves to move if we need to deepen. So if we are up and it begins to feel too gentle, we do as slowly as we can deepen down. The kind of movement that we don't want in yin is more fidgeting movement. So we don't want to be looking around, moving the head, moving the arms or tapping. We're trying to bring that stillness slowly, because the more we begin to still and slow the body and the breath, the more the energy body begins to follow, that yin-like essence begins to draw into the emotional body, the mind, because of how connected each and every part of ourselves is. So just giving ourselves that best chance of relaxation if we relax down physically. We're here for 2 more breath cycles. And as slowly as we can, draw that leg back and draw yourself into a downward dog. Well done. When you're ready, we're going to take that left leg through into our into our sleeping swan. So this is not Padmasana, it's actually swan. So yin and yang often have different names because even though they look the same, the way they should feel is completely different. So in Ekapada we might be upright, we might be engaged. In our sleeping swan, we don't need the hips to be squared off. If one falls to one side, that's absolutely fine. Whilst we might start with the same setup, we still want that back leg to be in line with your hip. We still want to start with that front leg engaged, parallel, but then we relax down. As you relax, you might find that this leg comes in towards the groin a little bit more. Foot goes from dorsiflex to softened. That leg might fall to one side a little bit maybe. And your upper body can relax forwards and down. You can draw your arms as far out in front as you like for more of a yin approach. Or if you'd like to take a more restorative approach, you might grab a pillow, place under your chest and wrap your arms around. So a restorative approach allows you to make each moment to moment experience in yin, in your yin poses, that bit more enjoyable. So it's more of that soft love. Whereas when we take yin, it's just the hard ground, the weight of your body, the weight of gravity, that simplicity and that discipline to just sit and breathe through, even though it doesn't feel as enjoyable moment to moment. You'll often find the ebbs and flows that you experience in yin a little bit more drastic. You'll really notice that shift. You'll feel that dissipation of the fascia melting down as your body melts down. You really allow yourself to tap into that physical release of resistance, that surrender to gravity, surrender to the pose, trust in yourself and your awareness of your body. Whereas restorative, I usually draw upon if the week has been tough, if you're completely drained. It can be a really, really lovely way of showing yourself that love in the moment. Take whatever feels right for you. There is no right or wrong, and both are a wonderful complement for one another, even in the same session, just as yin and yang are. Both allow you to calm the nervous system. Both allow you to shift into that energy of being rather than doing. Both cultivate compassion and self-love. And both give you a stillness that you just don't get in regular life. Not just that physical stillness where we commit to relaxing the muscles, switching them off and allowing yourself to go deeper, but also the stillness within the mind, where we don't need to do anything at all. We don't set any expectations on ourselves to be a certain way, to think or feel a certain way. It's absolutely fine if you're not feeling zen or yin, if you're not feeling that slow pace begin to settle into the mind. That constant allowing of wherever you're at is what gets you to that yin space. So the more we accept, the more we allow, the easier it will become. We begin to look at the different parts of the self in yin as separate, rather than you being you and your body, your thoughts, your emotions, everything that encompasses you in a day-to-day life. Each part begins to have its own section, so the physical body, the emotional body, the energy body, the awareness or consciousness, the one who observes each part, the ego, the identity, the human brain, the thoughts that you experience within your brain, all separate. Well done. We're going to move on to the other side, allowing yourself to take a moment in downward dog in between. Move as slowly as you need. Really take the time here to be still. It can be really tempting in our counter poses to bring movement into the body. So allow yourself instead to just let that heaviness sink in, really switching off through the back body. You don't need your yin down dog to look like a yang down dog, so you don't need to be really engaged, proactive, lifting. It's more about just allowing the upper body to do the work, the lower body switches off completely. When you're ready, the other leg draws up and through. Make the this your own. There is no right or wrong here. We can start off in a more traditional Kapata and then sink into our swan when we're ready. So the legs start aligned. This knee draws out to the right, the hips are squared off. And then when you're ready, we sink into swan in any way that feels right for you. So you can be fully down, fully flattened. You could be upright with the arms yang and the lower body yin. As long as we allow the belly button all the way down to the toes to be switched off, melted down, then we are practicing this perfectly. Close down the eyes unless you find that not great for you. If you find the internal distractions switch on more so, then still the pupils and look down at your mat instead. The stilling of the pupils is a really nice way to signal to the nervous system that you are safe, that you can allow stillness. The focus on the breath is a really nice way to allow yourself to come into that present moment. Focus on the sensations you feel is another lovely bridge back to present. When we experience thoughts within the human brain, you can see this one of many, many ways. But what we're often encouraged to do in Yin, in this meditative movement type practice, is see the thought as separate from you. The thought itself does not reflect anything on who you are, what you believe, your identity, your morals. The thought itself is simply something that we're experiencing in the moment. The human brain is often likened to a computer in the way it's habitual, you can break and create new links. It often does what's comfortable and what's known and what's been done before. And some believe that the thoughts that we experience are entities in themselves, separate from us, and that we're experiencing them when we align with their energy. And your energy can shift constantly, just depending on where you're at. So it's thought that as we practice more Yin, the thoughts may shift towards more of a Yin place, towards that surrendering and that allowing and acceptance. Again, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Others believe that the thoughts we experience are a result of that habitualness of the brain, how it's often repeating, it's often going very, very fast. If we try and go back and go over the conversation we've just had internally without observing from that place of the witness or the observer, it can be difficult to recollect all of the parts because of how fast the mind works, how many levels it's working at. The more that we allow the mind to begin to rest down, and you don't need to do anything for that to happen, other than allow whatever thoughts to arise. We don't push them away, but we also don't pull them in. So we're not rejecting any thoughts. We're not drawing them in for further conversation. We just observe them and then allow ourselves that bridge back to present by focusing on the breath and the physical sensations. The awareness of the thoughts is enough to begin to strengthen that meditative practice we understand ourselves and our mind more. It's like shining a spotlight on the inner workings of ourselves. We just begin slowly, slowly to know ourselves that little bit better, which can be a really powerful tool in everyday life, giving us that chance to choose when we notice love and fear in conflict, or taking charge in our responses or reactions. And the quieter we become, we occasionally begin to hear soul whispers, which are thought to be from the soul, or from the higher self, or consciousness, or from God. Everyone perceives different parts of the yin experience differently, but knowing some of the prior notions can help you identify what you feel you're experiencing. These soul whispers can be affirming, they can be a feeling such as a wave of love or relief or release. They can be an idea, or it can be the inkling to do something, to reach out to someone. There are many different things that arise. Just allow yourself to be aware. Again, you don't need to do anything in the present other than be in stillness. And you'll intuitively know, just as you know the difference between when to sit in stillness and when to move, what feels like a deep stretch and what feels too much for you. You also intuitively know the difference between the mind wandering and a soul whisper. These are notions that we draw upon in meditation and yoga nidra, but also yin. When you're feeling ready, as slowly as you can, we come back into our downwards dog. We're here for just the last time in this yin practice. Before we gently come down into a seat. So we're going to draw the legs out in front. We're going to scoop the right leg up towards us and over that base leg until your knees are stacked. You also have the option to draw that base leg under until the knees are stacked. Now, if the knees don't stack in half or full shoelace, so leg out in front is half, both legs wrapped around is full, it doesn't matter at all. Your knees could be completely like this, so far away from one another, but as long as we have the energy of scooping that leg round and the energy of scooping this leg up, over and round, then we're practicing it perfectly, and the aim is to eventually one day have the knees stacked. So essentially we don't have that sole of the foot down in more of a Lord of the Fish pose. It's sole of the foot shining back. From here, we have the option to release forwards and down, taking your hands out in front, and I would advise, if possible, to turn your palms up for more of that energy of surrender, and it also allows us to avoid that temptation to push the ground away. So we allow this heaviness. You could relax your head and neck forwards, although that will really intensify the sensations down the entirety of the back body. So just pay attention to what goes on there. Make sure you're being kind to your body. If it feels nicer to have the back of the head and neck long, then we do so. If you spend a lot of time on your phone or on the computer, you might already have slightly overstretched neck muscles down the back of the neck. So it might be nicer for you to keep the back of the neck long, just as a neutral extension of the spine, if that is the case. If not, it can feel really lovely to be heavy here. Allow yourself to continue breathing deeply. If you need to use your arms as a yang force, that's absolutely fine. The more of the body that we can relax down into that yin-like essence, supposedly the easier it is for our energy to follow suit. We're using the body as a vessel to change the energy, but it's hard to completely melt the whole body down into that yin-like state, especially in poses such as this where the body is not fully supported by the ground. As long as the target area is fully relaxed down, then we're practicing yin perfectly. Anything from there is up to you completely. Be kind to yourself and your body. Allow that stillness. The eyes are still, the body is still. When you're feeling ready, slowly walking your hands up, unscooping this leg, drawing it round, drawing the base leg, and then we guide both legs long. We allow the feet to start off engaged and then soften. The upper body draws forwards and becomes soft as well. Now we don't need to be completely forward folded here. You can prop your hips up if you feel like naturally you're scooping backwards a little bit so your spine is in more of a C shape. Or you can draw the fleshier parts of the buttocks up and behind and to the side, and then that allows you to have that natural anterior pelvic tilt a little bit more. The sit bones bear down, which is those two bony parts of the pelvis. And then we allow the heaviness. So if we were in a yang practice, we'd be focused on that straight spine, engaged legs, dorsiflexed feet. But in yin, we just focus on the melting down of the muscles. So you will land in a different place every time. There is no one size fits all. We don't need to look a certain way. We just want it to feel a certain way. We want the sensations to feel halfway between too intense and not intense enough. We want to treat the body with compassion and kindness. We don't want sensations of pain, but we're on that precipice of unfamiliar and familiar. And every time you practice, the sensations themselves will become more familiar, so you'll know more and more what feels okay for your body. You'll naturally be able to relax down more so because you're familiar. But your body itself will reach new depths most times that you practice yin. Just as the body becomes more able to sit with unfamiliarity and mild discomfort from the intensity of stretch deep within our body, the mind is thought to be able to do the same. Just as stilling the body allows that stillness internally, that shift, it's thought that that discipline of sitting in stillness with a simple pose gives us the ability to become more able to sit with uncomfortable emotions that arise in the poses. The discomfort of silence, which we often try to fill with external or internal distraction. And just as the poses themselves start very intense and often dissipate into quite an enjoyable sensation, the same is said for those internal shifts as well. Silence can often be something that we try to fill, that we try to distract from. And often after a yin practice, we feel that bit more comfortable to sit with silence without drowning it out and without covering it up. We create this safe haven, free from judgment, free from attachment, for emotions to arise, which can also be uncomfortable. We allow ourselves to observe them and witness them without secondary conversation, without taking blame or passing blame. We just observe the emotion. We observe if we hold it in a specific place within our body. Each yin pose is not just targeting the physical body, the yin tissues, but they're designed specifically to stimulate and encourage that healthy flow of prana through the meridian body, through releasing tension of the physical body and through stimulating the meridian body. When you're feeling ready, we move on to the other side. The legs come together. Left leg comes up towards you and scoops over, then down. So the sole of the foot is backwards and the leg is guiding all the way round. Draw that base leg under if you would like. Draw a block underneath the hips if you need, but in yin, again, we don't need that perfect aesthetic. As long as we have that energy of both sit bones buried down, then we're fine. Arms come down by your side. And we release and relax forwards and down. Allow yourself to make this your own. There is no right or wrong. If you have a very common yin practice, i.e. you're practicing each week or each month, then it's thought that you can be undoing the tensions that have built up in that week or in that month as you practice. It will feel easier and easier the more you do this. However, when we haven't practiced before, if it's our first, second, third time, or even more, you're going very deep into the body. And it's thought that you can begin to tap into these really long-held tensions. So you might find your mind wandering to your childhood first love, childhood in general, school, anything that feels weighty and from a long time ago can begin to drift into your mind, and that is absolutely fine. Absolutely normal. It's thought that we're releasing these things from our body, creating space for the new. And when we release them from our body, it doesn't mean forgetting from the mind. It can just be seen as releasing tension, creating space for new positive energy creating space for life force to flow through us more easily. Physical tensions are thought to be able to be built through a myriad of ways, but mostly when we form an attachment to something outside of ourselves. Ourselves being the observer, the soul, the one who watches, the higher self, consciousness, however you personally choose to witness that self that can be connected to oneness. And these attachments, whether we see them and initially try and judge as good or bad, we allow ourselves to take a step back from assigning meaning as that gently enters into that area of doing rather than being. There is no good or bad attachment. There is only attachment. We become aware of it, like shining a light on the inner workings of our body, of our mind. We're here for just one more breath. Before we gently guide that leg out in front, out long, and we're going to come into our Savasana pose. Feel free, if you do have blankets, blocks, anything like that, to draw whatever you need to make it as comfortable for you as possible. We can sweep the legs in if we like so. Release and relax the head down, the arms, wherever you feel comfortable with. And breathe. Release and relax every muscle in the face, in the shoulders, in the back body, and the front body. If you notice your mind beginning to wander throughout this meditation, a really nice place to start in terms of relaxing down physically can be the softening of the face muscles. Then observing where your mind wandered to, as if we're completely separate from it. Observe the breath, drawing in and out through the nose. Observe how it moves your tummy. Observe how it feels on the top lip. Allow gentle, soft breaths that fill the entire tummy, and full, complete releases. You have the option to stay here for as long as you need. Or if you have a lot to do today, then we can gently begin to bring movement into our fingers and our toes. Hug your legs in towards your body. Rock onto one side and make your way up into a comfortable seated position. Namaste.